Cool.
Corey, is my mic working? Yep, looks like it is.
Yeah, I hear you fine. I just ported this over to YouTube. So.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing, Ed?
I'm doing good.
Cool. Yeah.
And
So.
I just want to keep pictures of the surf waves. So people, okay.
I like it. Yeah, those look good. Those look really good. How was it getting up on the board? Is it supporting you on your surfboard?
Well, I'm a beginner river surfer, so I was getting up pretty regularly when Sleeping Beauty was, stable and good, which was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But once Sleeping Beauty changed, that was it for river surfing for me. So I'm kind of having to relearn my balance and stuff. So
okay.
It seems pretty easy to get up,
Yeah.
I get up and carve around a little bit, but I'm a class 2 river surfer.
Right on. Right on. Is it pretty bouncy? It looks smooth from here.
It's smooth, man. Let me see. I mean, get around. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
This part of the, I can't do that, but right in the middle where you see our friend Taylor there, it's kind of got 2 sides. In the middle, it's kind of peaky and it's a little steep in the middle for the boards that I have. So it kind of pearls in, but then you can get on the right or the left side of it where it's a little bit flatter. And it kind of reminds me of Sleeping Beauty. You know how on Surfer's Right, it kind of flattens out. Hey, how's it going? And anyway.
Cool.
It's
cool.
awesome. I should go up today and see what it's like, because it's a whole nother 100 CFS. And
yeah.
The picture you sent me, that's like 550, which was a blast.
Yeah, awesome. Marcel, welcome.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Good.
Good. Thanks for joining in, man.
Yeah.
So I was telling Ed a minute ago, kind of the idea is, we've got a really new feature and there's a little bit of buzz, I would say, around it right now. And then, I think the Farmington wave doesn't get enough love. I haven't been up there. It's a journey for me to come up from Albuquerque, but it's one of those that I'm like, man, we should go. So I was hoping you can help fill in some of the blanks on my knowledge from that, Marcel.
Sure.
And go from there. I know your time is limited, so chime in, like when you got to go, that's totally fine. We've ported this over to YouTube, so we're going to have this available. We're going to share it at one of the Adobe Club meetings as well. And so thank you very much for the pictures that you sent, and we'll kind of go from there.
Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are great pictures. Because it just gives people like an idea of what it is that's there, the shape of it. The waves that we're surfing down here in Albuquerque, as you know, there's one and it's small, right. It's like this big.
Right.
It's enjoyable on a 9.5 foot board. But it's also, you go hit a bigger wave like at Paddle Sports Retailer, and you have to like recondition your whole self, and you need a board that's only 7 feet long, and it's just something totally new. So the more we have here to play with, I think the better our kayaking infrastructure is, and the more people we're going to get to join in. So I think that's kind of where we're at. If it's good, I'd like to start with Marcel real quick. Could you give me a quick little intro about your experience with the Farmington wave?
Well, I lived up there in Farmington for 8 years while I was at SJC. So from 2007 to 2015. And then in that time, I think at about maybe 2000, I can't remember. If I look back through the pictures I sent you, I could figure out the exact date. But somewhere, I think around 2012, we did a rebuild because the bottom feature had been messed up and it was a big problem. And we did a rebuild on it then. And unfortunately, the feature got better at low water, but at high water, it's still the same problem. Yeah, so that's the upper feature.
Okay, yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah, it was the nice thing for me is when I was looking for those pictures, I had totally forgotten that every time I took a set of pictures, I put the CFS on. So
That's nice. Yeah, that's showing 1450 on that top feature.
yeah.
And then this will be a 750 on the bottom feature, and it'll be just a little bit more. Looks like a little green tongue on it.
Yeah. So pretty much the lower feature is just good at really low water. Even that at 750 wasn't great. It's better at like, 600 or less, as you could see some of the pictures. And when it's like that, it's just pretty much like a nice loopy hole. You can see that big pile in the picture that's up to the surfer's left there.
Uh-huh.
So that's where the bigger feature or the bigger edge starts. And as the water comes up, that hole gets bigger and bigger and meatier and meatier and meatier. The above 2000 CFS, most people don't surf there just because that lower feature is so nasty. But the upper feature, up to 2000 is really good, all the way down to, like I sent you those pictures at 180 for sup surfing was fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Farmington, you're totally right. It doesn't get a lot of love. And unfortunately, when I was living there and had the program there, we were using it all the time. It was, like a daily thing almost all year round, where we would go for lunch or we'd go after work or whatever. But but once I moved away and a lot of my students moved away and that program closed, there just really isn't much of a paddler population there that I'm aware of anymore.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it gets used very much at all. And a big showing of that is the little or the almost no amount of info and use of Penny Lane just upstream, because that place looks awesome and epic. But aside from a friend of mine named Scott, who some of you have met before, when he was still living in Farmington, after Penny Lane got done, he tried to surf there a couple times, but he was alone and it was a new feature, so he just didn't do much. But other than that, I haven't heard of anybody else like exploring it at different levels, really at all. Scott Carpenter mentioned, he's paddled through there a few times on the way down, and that it looks promising, but he hasn't done anything more than that either.
I went down it twice a couple of years ago on a sup. I think it was around 700 CFS. I didn't surf it, but we went down the dam. And it was good. It seemed like it'd be a good, fun place to check out. But I didn't do any surfing there.
Yeah, I'm super jealous. Like living here now in Eugene, where we don't have a play park, I'm so missing Farmington. Like I can't even describe my little heart pain. And I'm on a committee to build a park here, but you know how that goes. It's a huge, long process. So
yeah. I saw Scott Shipley recently put out, and I think I sent that to you, Ed. Like the financial feasibility studies.
I saw. I've seen that.
Yeah, for building wave features or wave parks, and Colorado's done a lot, as you both know, about how if they need more water, they have to show some type of financial resource to that, and that's why it seems like a lot of places are putting in those river enhancements in their town run, because of the tourism dollars that they can associate in order to bargain for more water, if I'm paraphrasing that correctly. So yeah, it's pretty challenging. Eddie, have you been up to Farmington to surf and play much?
I have not been up there. I haven't seen it.
Okay, cool. That's, those photos are great, and I really like the,
it looks good. I was impressed. I didn't know. I hadn't heard anything about Farmington for a long time, so I just assumed there wasn't much going on there. So it was nice to see. It looked pretty nice, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, what do you think, Marcel? The top and the bottom are probably the most notable features that are there. And then you said there's a Penny Lane. So that's a third feature?
Yeah, so, well, the top feature is the best feature, definitely. The bottom one's just sort of hit or miss, depending on the level. But the top feature has that pretty wide range from, like, 180 up to 2,000 if you're, a little bit better. But
okay.
So those are the main. And then Penny Lane is halfway between Farmington and Aztec. So it's about maybe 3 miles upstream from Farmington and maybe like 6 miles downstream from Aztec. And there's a parking area there and all that kind of stuff. And actually, what it is, it was a low head dam there that had actually killed, because over the years killed several people. And way back in like maybe 2005, if anybody remembers, like a Boy Scout troop went in there and 2 of the Boy Scout kids were killed. And yeah, so anyway, it changed a whole bunch of policy. But while I was living there in Farmington, we were on a working group to get Penny Lane changed so it would be at least passable. And then, and so that went through a whole process, and it all went through. But I moved away in 2015, and I don't think that got started until maybe 2017 was when that happened, the winter of 16-17. So it's been there for a couple of years.
Yeah,
for sure. And now it's totally passable.
Cool. I need to find it on Google Maps and post it on the Surf New Mexico page. You know, obviously trying to advocate for all the surf waves in New Mexico.
Yeah.
We're here on the Rio Grande. I'm kind of in a little bubble. Even the Chama is like, I hardly ever go to the Chama until now this wave.
Right.
So it's like the Animas. Oh my gosh, there's usually tons of water up there too.
Yeah.
Hey, Marcel, what gauge are you reading off of? Do you remember what gauge you used for the play park up there? Is it just the one in like closest one? Out to,
what I found on American Whitewater this morning is the gauge that's linked is the Farmington, the Animas at Farmington.
Yeah,
today it was showing 1630.
Sweet.
And then the Chama Play Wave is the Rio Chama below Abiqui. Is that correct, Ed?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to link those through American Whitewater in the description on the video when we're all done. So we'll have a hot link to that.
Okay.
So that's 1630. So it's showing like in the green. So the top feature would be solid at that level.
Yeah, it'd be
Cool.
awesome. And it's totally eddy service. And then what happens at that higher level, you know, as you start pushing to the 2s, is the eddy gets a little harder to catch. And then, you know, the problem is if you get flipped and then you don't roll up in time to kind of get to the left of the second feature and you end up in the meat, it's it's a like bus eater kind of wave.
Oh, okay.
Or bus eater kind of hole.
Gotcha.
So, you know, so that's the only catch. So that's why I'm saying at higher levels, like 1650 is awesome. It's a really good level. But, you know, once you start pushing those higher levels,
Oh, thank you.
Definitely getting
Yeah. You guys ever use the snow flow? It's
No.
like incredible. It's awesome. You can just see all of the levels at once.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, that's cool. Huh.
That's the screenshots that you've been sharing then lately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
I just
Yeah.
screenshot. But you know, I want to throw this in there. I think it's so cool, the surf parks, and I could see there being like surf safaris, you know, like for us in New Mexico, you go hit Abiqui and then you go up to Pagosa, or, you know, up to the Animas and then to Durango and then to Pagosa. And then now there's one up in Del Norte.
Yeah.
And I mean, in this whole little San Luis Valley southern part, you know, it's quite an amazing weekend vacation for us. And I think that will end up growing, you know, people doing, I mean, the Abiqui, there's so much camping there. It's so beautiful. I had no idea until I went up there to hang out. It's just like camping there.
Yeah. Is that, you know, where all the paddlers camp? Is that open now for use?
Yes. Yeah. On the day stretch. Yeah. That's all open.
Okay.
But if you're at the surf wave, you can just drive downstream, and there's basically a dirt road on River Right that goes all the way down to Abiqui. That's just got all kinds of cool camping spots. You know, you can camp on the river where it's developed, and they just did all the river restoration. So they redid all the parking lots, made some new parking spots.
Oh, great.
But then there's, you know, nice wild ones, you know, really beautiful Georgia O'Keeffe kind of painting hangouts, you know.
That's awesome.
And then a nice thing about the surf wave is there's a bathroom there, and there's pavilions, and there's like a barbecue pit. I mean, it's totally awesome. That stuff was all sitting there, and then they just built the surf wave right off to the side of it.
Oh, see, that's amazing.
Yeah.
To have that kind of infrastructure is really awesome.
It's super cool.
Yeah. That's good. So Ed, were you just up there this weekend, or have you been there the last couple of weekends with it?
Let's see. I was there Friday, and
Okay.
then I camped out Friday night, and that was when everything was closed. They didn't open things up till Saturday, and then I did the day stretch Saturday, which the wave was so good I would have blown off the day stretch just to hang out at the surf wave,
Yeah.
but it was, it didn't work out that way. No complaints.
Cool. Yeah. It looks like the flow is really nice and the wave is glassy.
Yeah, the wave is glassy, and this picture is 550, and like I said, today it's 622, and then the first time I was there it was like 430, and 430 was fun. And you could pop up on the board, you could practice popping up, carving around a little bit. It hasn't really changed much. It just gets bigger and bigger and greener so far in the 2 levels that I've been there. So
Okay.
I'm kind of excited to see it today. I'm probably gonna end up having to go up there today because.
So one thing I wanted to ask both of you guys. So Marcel about the Farmington wave and Ed about the Abiqui wave, the Chama wave. What do you recommend people bring up there? So seen a lot of play boats, and I saw it was an ice skate in that last photo. So pretty short, short equipment. Is that if someone has a 9.6 riverboard, or if they have like an 8 or 9 foot kayak, or are they going to be able to surf on these, or they really need to have play boats and river surfboards?
It seems like kind of a play boating wave. It's not. I mean, it's definitely more of a surfer's wave, a river surfer's wave, because it's green and kind of flat. But it doesn't seem like the kind of place you could loop in a play boat, but definitely the kind of place where you might be able to pull off a blunt or do some flat spins. And like I said, today who knows what it's like today.
Yeah.
But heard from the kayaker in the picture and a couple kayakers like my friend Matt Gontram, river surfers want one kind of wave and kayakers want a different kind of wave. And of course I'm both. I'm totally fixated on the river surfing right now because it's so challenging. And it's just you just show up with your board, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
But the Army Corps is open to building more stationary features in that section. I was kind of pushing for an adjustable wave at the USGS weir, which is about 150 yards downstream of here, of the spot that you're looking at in the picture. And it's just kind of weird. It doesn't sound like as bad as the one that they had up in Farmington that you guys were talking about, but it's a perfect place to put in an adjustable wave feature. But I guess the commandant or whatever, the head guy of the Army Corps in this area, is not really excited about the paddle sports recreational aspect of this location. But people go in and out of office and change and stuff, so
sure,
who knows at that point. But they are open to another stationary feature. And so this all happened in phase 1 of the Fish and Games restoration project, and there's a phase 2 that's supposed to happen, but I guess a lot of money has just dropped out, of course, because of the coronavirus and stuff like that. So people have kind of like said it's or the Army, my connections with the Army Corps, Austin Coolaman, had said there might not be a phase 2.
Wow. I actually thought this was that weir. So this was a different feature then.
It's amazing how much they changed that section of river from the dam downstream to the first diversion for Abiqui. I mean, everything's changed, and they did a really good job. They developed all the parking spots with big boulders, drive around them, new gravel in all the parking spots, more camping and parking spots, more fishing spots. They basically just put in tons of boulders and fish habitat. And this, wave wasn't going to happen. The money wasn't budgeted. I mean, it's a miracle that this wave happened.
Yeah.
Because fishing just kind of said, okay, we'll just call it fish habitat. And basically Riverbend Engineering put it in there. And those are the guys that built the park in Del Norte, and they built the park in Pagosa Springs, and
They're also the guys that did Penny Lane construction and then the rebuild in Farmington as well. Yeah, Chris and those guys. Yep.
Yep. And so anyway, so that was a good deal. It was the mercy of those guys wanting to put us in a good wave.
That's nice. That's nice that the construction company had that experience, that they knew, they could just move some things here and there and it'd be pretty awesome. So it's exciting. It's exciting to see those, to see the different levels. So I would definitely love to see some more photos as you can get up there and post them with levels or flow rates.
Yeah, definitely.
That's really pretty awesome.
So Mike,
it's go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Mike, to your question about Farmington, what works at what? So the lower feature is definitely just a playboat feature. It's like I said, it's like a hole with a small pocket that's a looping, cartwheeling type of machine. The upper feature though is definitely more surfy, and the way that thing kind of works is that surfer's left is glassy and surfer's right is typically a hole. And which makes it really nice because you can surf in the glass and then do a trick, and as long as you're on it and you can kind of get yourself back on the edge of the hole, like it'll keep you on that feature. So the nice thing is longboats have no problem surfing it at anything above like 400 because they can stay to the left on the glass, and then playboats can kind of sit on that edge between the hole and the glass. Actually at higher levels, like that 16 and above, I used to love to bring my Element surf kayak out and surf that feature, because then you could do just huge surfy like blunts and all that kind of stuff. As far as the surfing thing goes, I wasn't really into river surfing at the time. So I was doing SUP, but not river surfing. So I never had anything shorter than like a 9.6 on that feature at that low water. That's that board I was riding in that picture.
Yeah.
But certainly at higher levels. And then actually one other thing that happens at Farmington, which is interesting and probably still happens, is a lot of the high school kids will actually tie a ski rope to one of the trees upstream, and then they'll go out on body boards and be able to stand up on the body boards with holding onto the rope, right? And then they kind of just surf on the glass and screw around and have a good time.
So they're like wake skating at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
That's nice.
They're more doing that. But nowadays, like definitely with boards and like surfboards that I use on the river, I'm pretty darn sure you could stand up surf in that feature. I would imagine at the higher levels, probably like 700 up. I think you need that little extra speed and height and glass to get on there. But on a SUP, I think you saw it 180. And you could certainly do it up higher than that if you had the buoyancy, and even in some short surfy SUP, like a Pinot or something like that. So
awesome. What's the water temperature like up there, Marcel? Like, what do you recommend people wear for the Farmington feature? Is it dry suits or is it wetsuit?
Nah, it's fully snow melt in the spring. So at high flows, it's the typical cold stuff. But then honestly, like when we would run swiftwater rescue classes in the fall or late summer, we'd always run them up there. And a lot of people loved doing it then because the water was like 80 degrees.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so we would pretty normally from midsummer on, we'd pretty much be surfing in like a rash guard. Like,
okay,
no temperature protective stuff at all.
Yeah, it's like paddling down on the new. It's bathtub water.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. And then for those of you who haven't been there, it is about a 150-yard walk from the parking area to the feature. But then they're right next to each other, right below each other. But yeah, so it is a little bit of a walk-in for some people. And I think that's another reason it's not as known and not as focused on, because you do kind of have to find the parking area and then you do kind of have to walk in. But
yeah, I remember when I went and checked it out 2 springs ago. Yeah, I remember that we had to park and then kind of walk and figure out where it was.
Yeah. So that takes a little bit to figure out, but I was lucky because I knew that wave so well and could do a lot of stuff on it. But definitely people that come and only come once, or they're just driving through, it takes a little to figure out. So it's not just a like super brainless hop on this wave easy thing. Like You do have to figure it out a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's super worth it.
So, what's the easiest way to get to the place in Farmington? Like, where would you suggest parking for this?
There is a specific parking spot, and I can actually, what I'll do is I have another meeting here in a little bit, but after that, I'll send you guys both just kind of directions to Penny Lane and
Cool.
Awesome.
yeah, and Farmington, and then like directions, and I'll send you like a screenshot of each. I think I already have, definitely to the regular park, I have directions that we used to send out to students when we would meet there. So I can send you that. And then Penny Lane's super easy. It's actually on a road called Penny Lane Road. That's why it's called that. So,
Okay.
so yeah, those are both simple that I can send you all info.
Okay,
to.
cool. Thank you. Ed, what's the water temperature like for the Abiqui Chama wave?
Super cold.
Okay.
I think it's probably going to be cold no matter what time of year because it's coming from the bottom of the dam.
Right.
But when I say super cold, it's not like Colorado cold in the springtime. You know, it's like the Animas up by Durango. It's pretty cold. I'm wearing
you were wearing a wetsuit in some of those photos. So was that just like a 3 mil that you were wearing with your board?
Yeah, I have a 3 mil wetsuit, and
Okay.
it's a nightmare to get on and off, but it's totally worth it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's been great. The surfing. Go ahead.
Beforehand, I was telling Michael how cold I was wearing my wetsuit surfing up in Buena Vista. And I was like, I think I'll just take my dry suit, you know? Cause there's just enough breeze from the rapid, you know, that it really chills you.
Oh yeah. Well, that's one nice thing there is the sun is, I posted this because this is the kind of board that would work pretty good on the wave. I have a similar board, mine's 6 foot. I have a 7 foot board, which that other picture I was surfing and there wasn't that much room on the wave for the 7 foot board, but the little 6 foot board works pretty good. And of course, you know, the Batfish skates, those kind of boards would be great.
Okay, cool. How is it structure wise? Is it pretty rocky? Like, should I risk bringing the fiberglass board up, or is it kind of like just stick with the inflatable?
No, I would go for the fiberglass board. It's pretty clean in there. They did a really good job. The eddy is on river left, you know, and that's kind of like a really nice surfer's eddy. There's a lot of draw into there. And anyway, yeah, so it's got a nice gravel bottom, you know, probably like 1 inch gravel cobbles. I wear my Chaco, I wear shoes, but I mean, somebody could probably be fine barefooted in there. And it's really easy to just kind of climb out there. And they got a nice little launch rock right by the wave and exactly downstream right where you need it. So you can just like launch on boogie board or surfboard right into the spot.
Awesome. That's really sweet. That's good to know. That's good to know. I tend to use my river shoes a lot. I have a hard time. It feels weird when I'm on my paddleboard without my river shoes.
I totally agree. I can't do it without some sort of shoes. I paid the price not about a month ago with a big Russian olive thorn right in the arch of my foot. And after that, I was like, that's it. I'm back with the shoes. Always.
Awesome.
That picture that you see, the person with the badfish, they're actually on the little launch rock, and then you can just jump right onto the wave, and it's plenty deep. You know, the person standing up in the water, you know, it's like, you know, up to your waist, that whole little area, and then but just behind the wave, it's like you can't touch the bottom. It's super nice and deep.
Awesome.
So you're not going to hit any.
Yeah. Are you wearing, you know, this is another thing that I think a lot of people have questions over when it comes to river surf versus river, you know, park and play with kayaks. You know, we always advocate helmet use kind of no matter what. You know, I think I see people wearing helmets, some people maybe not. The photo's a little far out. You know, what are your guys' take and safety concerns, you know, with this?
You know, I wear a helmet. You know, I'm also bald and I have to have something on my head, so it may as well be a helmet. So that's why my helmet's got a little visor to keep my nose from getting burned. And so that's why I wear it. My friends are more surfers than river surfers, you know, at the ocean. So they're just wearing their naked heads and stuff. But, you know, the chances of hitting your head, it could happen there. but you know, you have time to think when you're on your board. I don't know. I'm an advocate of helmets for sure.
Yeah.
I all the river surfing I've been doing, I started with my life jacket. I even tried a dry top before I did wetsuits, and there's just so much drag. You know, ride after ride, it just sucks your energy out because it's all, you know, it's mostly swimming and it's catching the eddy and how you are on top of your board to catch the eddy, because you can really use your board just, you know, paddling back in, and it's amazing how efficient it is. But if you drop a leg off the side, it's a lot of drag. It's just these little bits of drag really wear you down, you know? And so that I just wear the wetsuit. And I mean, it really opened my mind, like, oh my gosh, no wonder surfing, I mean, surfing's been around for so long. They've been making wetsuits for it. I mean, these guys, so many people have been surfing, and it's such a good add-on if you're a kayaker, because it really brings in all this tried and tested technology into our realm. And in the end, as a kayaker, there's a possibility you're gonna swim anyway. So it just makes me super confident in that way. You know, it's like, oh, boom, I can just, you know, I'm not gonna drift down the river feet first, hoping for the best. You know, I'm gonna aggressively hit the eddy, get out of there. You know, depending on. So I think it's good. And then it also, like, now, I mean, we're lucky here in New Mexico. It's not super, super cold, but it's enough to kill you if you're stranded out somewhere. And you wear your wetsuit, and I wear a dry deck, and it's like I'm covered. No matter what happens, I fall out of my boat, you know, to swim. I got a little layer of 3 mil protection and a little extra flotation. Yeah. Anyway, it's added a lot to me as a paddler getting into river surfing for sure.
Cool. Marcel, what do you have to say with your experience on this? I know it's getting close for you to needing to wrap it up.
Well, so that's actually a big topic for me, especially living here in Eugene, because we go over to Bend all the time.
Yeah.
Surf there. And I know you guys all know Brittany Parker. Her and I and a couple other people, we did a presentation at Paddle Sport Retailer last year on this very issue. And I think it goes beyond helmets. I totally agree with Ed as far as helmets is a good idea for sure, but it also comes down to the leash issue, especially with one of these new places and things like that, and sort of this culture clash, which we see a lot here in Bend, just because we are only 3 hours from the ocean. And yeah, it's a really, really interesting thing that is kind of happening. You know, it's the first time, you know, I grew up surfing and kayaking, and I kind of, you know, was always around this river culture, sort of looking at ocean culture, thinking it was really cool. And now that I live at the ocean and I do so much surf and kayak surf and stuff, it's a totally different culture than what we have on the river. And it's definitely created a lot of conflict in Bend in the big picture. A little bit in Boise, but nothing like Bend. Bend has definitely been an interesting melting pot of sort of that idea. So, you know, we'll see what happens, but yeah, I'm an advocate for helmet. I'm an advocate for a quick release torso worn leash. I'm also an advocate for a inherently buoyant life jacket while surfing. So, you know, that's the way I do it, and that's the way I try to present myself. Certainly not like, you know, whatever Nazi, but it is an interesting thing.
Yeah, so. And I think it's important to talk about that. I mean, several whitewater sub forums that I've kind of watched, there's a lot of interesting conversation, and I know what I like, you know, and I like to feel like I'm swimming after I just wet exited from my kayak, because a life jacket makes me feel safe, you know. Ed, I can testify to how much drag happens when you're wearing a dry suit surfing, because that just kills you. Last year at Mother's Day race, man, I did like 2 runs on that wave at Sleeping Beauty, and I was just smoked from the swim. Just so much was pulling me around. It was like an octopus had a hold of me.
Well, you know, I'm totally into wearing life jackets now for surfing, because I realize that, especially in New Mexico, it's such a new spot. There's so many people watching you, and somebody could easily get over their head. And so, plus it's the Army Corps owns the property there, manages the property, and you have to wear a life jacket. That's the rule at Abiqui now.
Huh,
And
cool.
so, you may not have to wear a helmet. I'll be wearing a helmet for sure.
Yeah.
And at Sleeping Beauty and South Soul, I definitely wear a leash, or you lose all your energy chasing after your board. But I do waist release system, quick release system, a little shitty aluminum carabiner that attaches it to the board. So in case everything goes wrong, at least that shitty carabiner breaks. Literally, I'm always in the market for the shittiest little key ring carabiner, And then I just ordered this vest to meet my requirements at the Abiqui Wave. And the only thing I don't like about my life jacket is, man, it's I'm such a beginner, popping up on the board. That's the whole thing, it's like popping up, and just having that brick between me and the board, it really makes a huge difference and makes it so much harder. So that's why I'm trying out this wakeboarding vest, and we'll see how that.
There's a lot of guys wearing those on Jaws. I mean, like on big wave surfing, like the impact vests are huge, along with the inflatable jackets, with Jaws and the wedge.
I gotta go, guys, real quick, but cool. I actually use the Patagonia impact vest. I totally agree. I think there's places where those are really good options. So I totally hear you guys. But thanks for bringing me in on this. I appreciate it, and shout me out if there's anything else I can help you with.
Great, Marcel. Thanks so much for your time.
Cheers.
Yeah, this is good. I think those would be nice. I also think it helps your torso, like, because these are a little bit smaller on on your chest. So getting from that paddle position on your belly on the surfboard to the pop up. I like your idea with this, Ed. It's not going to be as cumbersome as like a regular PFD will be.
Yeah. There's another. I've been talking to some other river surfers around the country, and Neil Esgard of Surf Anywhere up in Canada, they've been building adjustable waves and all that stuff. So I asked him, and he said, the rivers are so much bigger up there, like, so people wear life jackets, but they're going to the wakeboard vest, cool. For that reason.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Kind of like the last thing I want to touch on real quick is what's Sleeping Beauty doing these days, Ed? In times past, we don't have a lot of water right now, but last year it was a really nice wave at times. It was scary at times. Did last year's high water change it? And do you think we'll see any good waves like this in the future?
Yeah, it did change last year. What happened is people built, oh, there it is. Great picture. Okay. On Surfers Right, on River Left, there was a weir going out that people had built, and that weir just got pushed downstream. Now, in an amazing stroke of luck, this recent flash flood kind of moved some rocks again. So we'll see what happens when the river comes up. It needs to be at least 600 CFS, I found, before it becomes a decent river surfing wave, the old Sleeping Beauty. But we'll see at this flow. But Sleeping Beauty is awesome. Because I feel lucky that that's the wave I got to learn on, because it's not a straightforward wave. It's kind of off angle, and you have a fast water swim, and you catch the eddy. You actually catch the eddy quicker than you do at the Abiqui wave. Just everything's a little quicker, but you have that big rock downstream. It's a little bit more intimidating, and there's you wear a leash, and that leash could get hung up on a big rock, if your board goes one way and you go the other way. So, in some ways it's dangerous, but also kind of prepares you too. I hope Beauty comes back and is good for river surfing. The river surfing thing is so dang fun, man, that it's like, I don't even take my kayak up there anymore. You know what I mean? It's just and I'm not saying that the kayaking surfing isn't fun. It's just like something about standing up. There's just so much more leverage, and it's so much more challenging to pop up. The pop up is the roll. You know? And so.
Oh, that's good.
I think, like I said, this is not. I get this. I'm starting to see this kind of divide between kayaking and river surfing, and this is totally not that. This is thanks for not doing that. This, they go together really well. You know what I mean? And anyway, I lost my train of thought here.
Well, I think it's a great way to round out your quiver. And given what we have to play with here in New Mexico, I think it would be foolish not to try to take advantage of river surfing and kayak play. It's my time here has really changed my thought on what type of playboat I think is the best for the Rio, and I've got a Jitsu and I like it. It's great. But to me, I'd much rather paddle something that's a little longer, a little more slice, so I can surf more. I can catch things on the fly, and then just shifting to paddleboarding more. It opens up a different set of skills that you can work with.
Yeah. But, oh, okay, here's the point I was missing. Okay, kayaking, it's expensive. And, so kayaking, I think it's like I've got some money kind of sport. I've got a job already. I've got my career, you know what I mean? Or it's, you got to spend $2,000 just to get all the stuff. Whereas river surfing, I mean, especially in a place like Albuquerque where you don't need a wetsuit.
Yeah.
It's $100 thing. It's $200 thing. And then you're there. You can take it on the bus and there you go. And so I feel like that's like skateboarding is everywhere, because it's $100 thing. And kayaking is not everywhere. You can only do it in specific places. Obviously, you can skateboard on sidewalks and everywhere else. But the surf waves, I mean, if they could build that wave with that little bit of gradient that's at Abiqui, I mean, man, they could be in Albuquerque. There could be one at Buckman. And of course, everything in Espanola is like the mother lode place because, you got a lot of poverty right there. Everybody's kind of detached from the river. The river runs right through town. There's no bike path. But to me, like this Abiqui wave is the watershed moment for, river recreation. I'm saying that like even bigger than kayaking and rafting and stuff like that, because I think if you play it out down the road, you know what I mean? More of the youth are going to get in for the affordability,
I really agree with you in saying that this is going to be a catalyst for the state and just outdoor recreation in general. Definitely. So, you brought up, the possibility of having something at Buckman. I think that would be great. There's several cool like corner waves there. And I thought I had saw that they were going to rebuild the trail down Frijoles Canyon this year.
I hope. Yeah.
Because that would open up that 7 miles of whitewater. When I paddled that last summer on the SUP, I was just amazed at how much surf was there before you get to anything, there's just those little, like the river goes around the corner and then boom, there's like 2 little surf waves and you can play around, and it seems to always have good flow, just like this Abiqui wave. Because they're always extending water.
Yeah, you have the Rio Grande and the Chama confluencing there just above Espanola. So like everything from Espanola down, I mean, it's always 1,000 CFS. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, even low flows is like 600 CFS, which is great wave material.
Yeah. Yeah. I really agree with that. I think it would be a really nice thing to see something pop up, in the future in Espanola, just because, it's a metropolitan area. They could really stand to use, economic dollars from tourism. Just the extra tanks of gas and food and coffee, is huge. So
yeah, I think it really has a lot to offer. Espanola is like the prime location because the people living there, and it's poverty, and you know what I mean. It needs that for the kids there, but it's also very challenging because it's 2 different pueblos and the city, and they have years of problems. They used to have a bunch of businesses where the old bridge is. This is like 30 years ago. Like Angelina's used to be down there, and a couple other businesses. And then one day the Santa Clara just said, "You guys are out of here." They had some sort of argument. So people that had businesses there, they just had to close down shop. And so there's a lot of pain involved around river access there, with regards to Santa Clara and San Juan Wingate. But the casinos have grown in that time too. And Santa Clara is right in the prime spot. And so I've been using the model of the Truckee River and Reno, you know, there's kind of a similar town. You know, you got some casinos, similar sized river, and they've got a river park there. And so, I mean, if the Santa Clara, they had talked a few years ago about doing a river park that kind of mixed in with the hotel.
Yeah.
But I mean, location between the, if you know what I'm talking about, between the old bridge and the downstream bridge,
right.
You know, there's like an old movie theater there that's closed down. You know, it's like this old town street. Now there's just like a funeral home there. You know, it's pretty depressing. But like that little zone of Espanola would just be like, I don't know. I feel like this Abiqui wave is the beginning, because now there's actually something you can take people and show it to them and start getting a little pod of people playing up there, you know, and surfing up there.
Yeah, I like that. It's good vision. I think it's definitely something to continue to work towards as we see the Chama wave kind of come to fruition. Let's see what happens with phase 2 and all of that. It's great.
Yeah.
You know, Michael, do you have any other questions or anything? I know Ed, go ahead.
Yeah, Ed, I was just going to ask, like, what's for people who might see this and be interested in river surfing now, like what's like number one tip you might be able to give someone? Like, you know, someone starting out, you know, I've done a little bit of river surfing myself, mostly, you know, in Corrales and a little bit a few other places, but you know, if I wanted to go out and get one of those Wavestorm boards for $150 and really, you know, spend a weekend up at Chama, the Abiqui wave, you know, what piece of virtual advice could you give me for maybe being a bit more successful?
I'd say, you know, it's a small investment. Get yourself a really good wetsuit that fits well. You know, that's crucial, because then you're going to be comfortable and you're going to get to be in the river all day playing around. So that's crucial. You know, go to a place like Abiqui where you got a nice eddy and you're going to get a lot of rides, because that's what it takes, is a lot of rides. So you want a nice river level and a lot of rides, and you want the right board for your size, you know? So, you know, and that means something wide, you know, like a Taquito, Wavestorm Taquito is like a kid's subboard. That's what I learned how to river surf on. And it's just easy to stand up on because it's really big, you know, but you could start on your subboard, you know, try to give it a whirl on that.
Yeah.
And that's what I reckon. And of course, go up with people so you have a good time.
Yeah.
And then on the backside of that is those leashes, man. That's the number one killer of people. River surfing is their leash. And so you gotta, you have to really think that one through and have a little bit of experience with that. But I think it's pretty easy to let people know right off the bat not to attach to your ankle. And you know, if you go to a place like Abiqui, you don't even need a leash. You know, it's just like when you're on something fast moving with rapids or something, and you need to get out of there, or the wind's blowing. I mean, that's one thing I've noticed. You'll be like fall off the board, and the wind catches your board, and the next 30 minutes you're like looking, trying to get your board. You know, so
right on.
Cool. Well, Ed, I appreciate your time and your insight. And Michael and I were scheming earlier, like, can we try to get up there on Friday? Are we going to be able to go Saturday? When can we go?
Yeah, let's do it. I'd love to meet up with you guys up there.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I'm going to drop everything and go up there. So.
That's great. Yeah, that's totally awesome. I appreciate your time. We'll kick you over the video so you can put it up on your Surf New Mexico page if you want.
Yeah, I'd love to.
And if you need any of the photos, like, just holler. I did screen grab one of the Chama wave pictures, and I put it on American Whitewater on that section of river.
That's
so
great.
There's a photo at least showing that we have a feature there. If you have something differently, or you want me to pull that down, you know, please let me know. I'm super happy to do that.
That's cool. Everything I post out there is for public consumption. And,
Cool.
you know, as a last note, I want to make a big shout out and thank you to like Eric Fry and Austin Kuhleman and everybody at the Army Corps and the Fish and Game for, you know, who actually made this happen, and Riverbend Engineering, you know.
Yeah.
So they were like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And they did it. Somehow it miraculously happened.
Yeah.
So it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I second that. I think that's great. I mean, just the flexibility, the forethought, that's awesome. So.
Yeah, they turned on a dime and made that happen. And it's awesome. It's the beginning I really feel like it's the beginning.
Cool.
Nice.